Hey, how's it going there? It's Brennan. What you got to understand is focus. Okay, I get. Oh boy, I can't focus. I need to take notes big time. Okay, this is what I was doing for years, and then when I told people, I sent a message, private message to the media that there was just one guy who was a threat, and that was the guy who stole from me. And I don't think they cared, even though they might have cared afterwards, but not what I actually said. Okay, so if I said there's a terrorist attack or something bad's going to happen for anyone, they just don't care. It's not in their they don't get paid to care. Okay, um, what I was trying to work on this morning is that the Democrats have worked on demonizing the George Washington. Okay, so by the time the Republicans come around, they are afraid to touch that because they've done such a complete scandal on responsibility, on actual responsibility. This is the person who has, like George Washington, grows up in a nuclear family in a diverse community. It has a strong paternal influence. This is biological influence, but also in a diverse community. So there might be some diverse paternal influence of a sort, but this is going to happen uh, naturally, but it's also sort of well, this is a bad analogy. Jerking the monkey, the stick grabs, puts his hand inside the bottle, grabs the nut, and tries to pull it out, and he's jerking it out. He can't get it out because it's and maybe he either can't tip the bottle over or he and he can't tip it over if it's sort of locked in a situation, which would be like the family structure. So this is an analogy of the jerk, okay, that and that is Jimmy Carter, I guess. Steve Martin, it was made in the same era, I believe. Um, okay, but to look at the big picture, don't just look at sort of don't look at this trivial sort of, oh, I made this movie in California and therefore it must be good. But look at the inverse, I guess. It's the George Washington. Okay, so basically the scandal is, if someone is an only child, that might be sort of this extra strengthened element. This is Steve Martin, right? An only child. They can dedicate all their attention to this person. But someone like George Washington, he's got a bunch of older brothers, or he's got a couple of older brothers, and he's got a little sister. So the little sister gets a lot more attention because this is, protecting them from losing their virtue, right? And whereas the guy, he just has to gain his virtue, whereas the girl has to hold on to it and protect it. But the guy still has to gain his virtue, otherwise there's a lack of responsibility. And this is like the media saying, oh, never mind responsibility. We're going to choose someone who's desperate. We're gonna make sure that they're so utterly desperate that they have zero credibility. We're gonna make them desperate. We're going to avoid them. And this is the thing. Okay, so the argument is that the mainstream media will say in America, in the United States, will say, oh, George Washington, we would love to have someone like that on our team, but they're just not trustworthy. They're just not honest. They lie, Watch, we'll make them lie. We'll make a fool out of them. Okay? And And there you go. Okay, this is the reality. Okay, because that's, watch us make a fool out of diplomacy, world peace, goodness, and indeed greatness. Watch us pretend that we really wanted George Washington, except we hate them. Okay, except we hate conservatives. We hate straight white Christian males. Okay, and not any emphasis on any of those, but all of those. Okay, this is the Divine Comedy. They say, of course we want George Washington. Of course. I mean, if only such a thing were real. Okay, but they're saying, like, no, George Washington is fiction. He's just a robot. Let us watch us stick our hand up the robot's rear and watch it, make him sort of go, oh, yes, please, could you stick it farther up there? Okay, this is the reality. Okay, putting in MTV, the Real World San Francisco, they took a straight white guy with personality issues, and they also took a black guy to sort of say, look, he's got no issues. He's down to earth. But God, if you believe in that, isn't necessarily down to earth. He may be walking, but he's like walking the stairway up, okay, to the promised land. Okay, but with responsibility, which means, the wise men are always looking for a great leader. And technology is the reason. That's what, what we ultimately need to get away from the random noise, chaos, distraction, paranoia, okay? So anyways, in the Real World MTV, and it's easy to get distracted because you want to have the details, but you want to compose them on paper so that they're very specific. But if you simply say, George, it's not real, he doesn't deserve an education, we're going to use a woman to veto world peace and prosperity. Okay, this is what happened with George Washington. His mother had that veto power, said, no education, we need more slaves. George Washington may be smart, but who needs technology when we could have corruption? We could have, I know that's a bad analogy. Okay, so a bad puppet or something. In the Real World MTV, okay, MTV is Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton sort of supported TV show connections. So they find a local white guy who's got a sister, and I don't know the details. We could just make stuff up at this point, fiction, of course. And they bring in some really personality trouble issue foreign people who happen to be gay. But you're in San Francisco. There are such things as gay people from San Francisco. So they're avoiding bringing in harmony, but they're instead bringing in this sort of the problems. Because, it's San Francisco, whereas a lot of gay people there. But you should find a gay person who's from there, okay, who is going to represent the city if you really care. That's the reality, that it's the gay capital, and there are, in fact, gay people who grow up there. Even first generation, whose parents and grandparents are all Americans. And you do not see this anywhere. The George Washington, more specifically, the guy who's actually, who grew up in San Francisco, who's either totally straight or totally gay, who has a little sister, okay, unless if he's black or Jewish, and then it would be a big sister. This is the statistics that unite us in the United States. And again, whose parents and grandparents are all born in the United States, but east of the Rockies. In reference to George Washington, this is before GPS, so there's a change in space, or there's a change in time, which only happened once. When George Washington was 7 years old, GPS was invented for the first time. It was called a marine chronometer, allowed ships to sail through the night. And basically, if you were working in the news, propaganda, media, whatever it is, you could then expect newspapers to arrive within like 2 months globally. Okay, before that, ships would go off and they don't know where they are, so that you couldn't count on ships most ships to really arrive on time. With GPS, changed the world, and that's what made these computers possible. And when it comes to ships themselves, this was enabled by Gutenberg, because once you can mass produce a book and they're all exactly the same, not almost, but exactly, then you can build ships. You know, it might only take a few pages, but if you get them exactly, and people can say, oh, I know that chart, and they start communicating, and they start refining the books, they send notes, and they're able to do manufacturing much better, to create, you know, a guy can travel to a distant port and bring his notes, this book, Gutenberg stuff, perfect stuff, and share it, have a stack of them and pass them out, and everyone can say, oh, okay, all right, and so pretty soon the ships are being built. And which is, again, that's not the notes that I'm sort of, not the excitement like, oh, you know, the singularity, you know, oh, anything can happen, but rather what good can happen, okay, what good understanding, control, moral support, ultimate leverage, tradition. Okay, these are very. This stuff is traveling at high speed. It's like the atomic bubble chamber where you're differentiating materials, and stuff is going very fast. And it's not really about the facial expression or even eye contact, but it's about how you get it on the page and how you quantify the equation, because it really is this ultimate equation. Okay, the George Washington in the media, okay, as a grounding element, as a traditionally and clarified a thread to pull the social fabric through so that it does not get bunched up, so that you're actually having a lead instead of saying, you know, this is difficult. The thread, you know, you can't push, you can push the need, and the needle guide the rest of us. The needle guide the thread. Okay, the needle guide the thread. And the system of having someone like George Washington who has a little sister and strong paternal influence, but no stepfather specifically, this is fundamentally important for world peace. Now, again, I've looked far and wide, and I can't find them. So for the media to say we would love to have that is just not true, because you would see them. You would be able to say, oh, look, right there, there's someone like Jim Morrison or Kurt Cobain who not only lives past 27 and stays sober, but early on is doing the opposite of what George Washington was doing, which is basically the same thing, screwing up majorly because they don't have that tradition to leverage themselves on. Now, a really fascinating fundamental is of feminism is that the oldest profession in the world is something that women, if they are desirable, automatically possess. They possess the profession, the oldest profession in the world. Guys do not. If they try to pursue that career, they are going down into the gutter. Okay, a guy who tries to say, oh, look at me, aren't I pretty? In the way that a woman can, is going to get less than nothing. Now, if George Washington gets less than nothing, the world suffers. Okay, and you go into war. You go into global war. All you have to do is say, George Washington, you look like a prostitute. We don't want you. We don't want anyone like George Washington or like God. We just don't want God in our hearts because we know he will take over. This is the reality, okay? And the Virgin, Jesus' mother, in the New World is like George Washington's little sister, innocent, okay? If you say, oh, well, why don't you just prostitute your little sister? Then again, this is the divine comedy of war, okay? It's sort of, you know, maybe it's a good idea because this is just natural, but it is also like war is a good idea. It's also like saying, yeah, well, you know, complete insanity, okay? That's the divine comedy is to say, well, why not, you know? Um, so this is very, very tricky. This is very complex. I've been trying to compose this, just that little segment right there. I'm trying to do that gracefully, and for years, literally for like 2.5 years, I've been trying to find a place where I can sit down and really compose that, not holding some stupid camera in my hand, not holding anything, but leaning on the keyboard, leaning hard on the keyboard and touching it a lot, okay? That's how we should write. We shouldn't be holding this thing up and say, oh, isn't this great, I'm holding this thing in my hand. No, it's not good to hold something like that in your hand unless if it's a degenerative purpose, like it's food, like you're just shoveling it into your mouth or something like that, you know. A feed bag. Or you're a gossip or something like that, or you're communicating something to someone who actually wants to know. Okay, now this is the question: does the media want to know the George Washington? Could they trust to have someone like God, like Jesus, in their hearts, or do they fear that? Do they say, no, God will take over? It's written. Look, it says, let God into your heart, and He'll take over completely. Okay, and then you'll be stuck with peace and prosperity and technological advances that are very clear and very loving, because that's important for a guy who's got a little sister. He doesn't say, oh, let's just do whatever you want with my little sister, I don't care. No, you marry her, you love her, you be qualified, or you be at war with the gods. Okay, this is reality. Okay, you could say, but that's totally schizophrenic, dude. Maybe it is, but they chose not to have the George Washington. Okay, you look and you see the temptation early on. As soon as George Washington, GPS allows this, the Divine Comedy starts with the communication, with the ability to send messages, virtual messages, predictably. Happens only with GPS. Before that, the ship leaves the horizon and we don't know where it goes without GPS. So the technology, the same as the computer, the same as the internet. And this is when George Washington is 7 years old. So it takes a while. It's slow. It's GPS sailing across the world. It still takes a couple of months to get messages around, but they are predictably arriving. Okay, but George Washington is not. You might hear a story because George Washington is noticeable. Okay, and he's on an accessible frontier. This is Chesapeake Bay, so ships literally come up there. I believe there's a deep water port like right by his house, and they say, boy, look at that guy, 6'5", and his son, oh man, he's getting his son has a little daughter. Look at this. This is, oh my God, they look nervous. Oh, and look, we're reading the newspaper, and look, at 2 years later, after GPS is invented, his dad dies, and this is probably why we know George Washington. Because his actual biological father is out of the picture, but he has biological paternal effects of his half brothers who are the age of his brother, in the same sense that George G.W. Bush, President Bush, is about 12 years older than his little sister. So he could be, a father figure beyond the older brother little sister equation. This is a very tricky reality that we can see. Okay, we can actually, the ship can come into the harbor, maybe it's San Francisco, maybe it's Chesapeake Bay, and the camera, the reporter can say, oh, look at this photograph, or look at this story, or look at these guys selling tobacco over here. It's tobacco, wow, And the tobacco merchants are buying all kinds of, the guys who buy the tobacco are like, you should try this stuff from Peru, it's the best, Robin Williams even likes it, I guess. But we're talking about people whose parents were actually born in America. And again, GPS is this quantum shift in time, so Chesapeake Bay was unknowable when George Washington was born, and when GPS comes along, it is knowable. You can actually sail a ship at night without even leaving your cabin, just like with the internet, and arrive there. So it shifts from an unknowable place without GPS to a knowable place. And that knowable place quickly expanded, the carpet rolled out further until the left coast, San Francisco, Seattle, Silicon Valley, and particularly the unplanned community. We see this in Twilight Saga as a reference of a diverse community, but in the movie, again, it's a fake, it's fiction, mythical creatures and all. In there, well, I guess they're all in like either British or Italian, but not local. So they don't have, again, responsibility that the American, who doesn't have traditional experience to leverage themselves on, therefore not having to say, oh, my family, that's all I've got. To suppose that maybe, oh, we'll just leverage your virtues against your little sister's virtues. This is, the equation of war is simply saying, well, we can't have that because we don't want to give power. We don't want Jesus in our hearts. We don't want peace. We don't want to give up power. God is too much of a threat. We're going to use technology to create wars and try to create like cheap gains, try to create political intrigue, try to jinx reality through the king of royalty that is really Jesus. Is really Jesus. Reality and royalty are the same. If you want order, if you want a truly peaceful world that overflows with goodness. The Holy Grail is full of Jesus' blood. And you want that. You do.